It is pretty well known that moms take on a huge amount of physical, emotional, mental, and logistical labor without acknowledgement. If you're in a circle of mom friends, if you aren't too isolated, and I think this is a trap that a lot of moms fall into, you will find that what you are experiencing, you are not alone if you feel like you are taking on a lot, even if it's just mentally. So many of us look at our day and we think, well, what if I really made a list of everything I accomplished today? Would it look like that much if I listed it out on paper? And even if it wouldn't, just thinking about all the things that we are mentally managing, all the balls that we are keeping in the air, it can be a lot if we don't figure out how to manage them, how to seek support, and how to be realistic about it all. One thing I do try to remember as a mom, I do feel that women are equipped to handle multitasking. That's why this tends to happen, that we end up taking on such a mental load, because in some ways our brains are more designed to be able to juggle multiple things and not just stay singularly focused on one like men tend to typically do. So let's talk about some of the things that moms tend to manage mentally that can really just become too much without proper support. So household management. This includes cleaning and tidying, keeping all the things organized, and managing inventory. If you're a mom of a lot of little children, you might know that even if you do a big, massive declutter, you go through all of the kids' clothes, you find things that have holes and stains and things that don't fit. You pare down that. You throw away the toys that have missing pieces or ones that have just too many pieces that you find yourself constantly cleaning up, or shoes that don't fit. Even if you went through and you did that all 6 months ago, it's something that you have to continually do because children continue to outgrow clothes. They continue to stain up and get holes in clothes and lose pieces of toys. They acquire new items from parades, from grandma's house, from that $2 thrift shop toy that you figured, why not let them have? It's a process that isn't a one and done type of thing. And that's so many things with motherhood that can become discouraging. They aren't tasks that you can complete. As soon as you clean the kitchen, it's time to make another meal. As soon as you do laundry, people wear clothes again. And so part of this is, of course, going to be just acknowledging that it is constant and that is just part of it, and not expecting that we can check things off a list like maybe we could do before we had children. Okay, so household management, cleaning and tidying, laundry, we talked a bit about that, washing, drying, folding, putting away, grocery shopping, another moving target. Maybe you grocery shop once a week, maybe you do it twice a week or monthly. We all have systems at different times of our lives that accommodate what we are currently doing. And so figuring out that rhythm and what currently works, which won't maybe work next year or, just as seasons change. Meal planning, cooking, dishwashing, organizing, decluttering, scheduling, home maintenance scheduling. So things like repairs, service calls, budgeting, bill paying. Maybe it's time to revisit all your insurance policies and see if you can get a better price. There are constantly those types of things where you feel like, okay, I checked that off the list, but then there's usually something else you need to get scheduled, you need to put on your calendar. So that's in the home management category. And understandably, without proper planning and scheduling, that can be a lot. As a busy mom of 8 with a house build going on and so many other things, I need all areas of my life to be simplified. One way to simplify healthcare is by using MIDI Health, which is the sponsor of today's video. MIDI is a virtual care clinic on a mission to make longevity care proactive and personalized. I love the idea that when you have a concern, you can address it without having to go on a long drive or wait in long lines. Typically, MIDI was focused on midlife care concern, menopause, perimenopause, weight gain, but they have just recently introduced a new visit type, MIDI's Age Well visit, which is a visit focused on preventative care and helping you age awesomely. When you book a virtual MIDI Age Well visit, your MIDI clinician will go over your family health history, any blood work or scans that need to be done, and any concerns you may have about your future. They will put together a personalized care plan featuring interventions, supplements, lifestyle coaching, and treatments to help you live an active, independent lifestyle, as well as cutting-edge screenings, advanced lab testing, and 24/7 support from empathetic clinicians. MIDI visits are covered by insurance and can take place in the comfort of your own home. If you need any testing done, MIDI will help you find somewhere local to go and get that done. If you're looking for personalized, compassionate care covered by insurance, then click my link below to book your first MIDI visit. And then there's the child care and the parenting, making sure that kids are properly fed, bathed, dressed, regular diaper changes, lunches, snacks, school, whether that is taking them there or homeschooling, character building, teaching them skills, teaching them how to help around the house, managing extracurricular activities, scheduling their type of maintenance things, if you will. So doctor, dentist, specialist, whatever might fit your current needs, birthday parties, play dates, sleep schedules. And I do think that sometimes we throw extra things in there that aren't necessary, but it can be a challenge to figure out which of those things are important, which you can check off your list. And I also want to say right now it's summer. I think that we think back to those endless feeling summer days that we had when we were a kid. At least that's how it felt for me. And as a parent, almost trying to capture and grasp that while still having to manage a lot of things that don't really allow us just to spend entire days out in the sun, or even if it does, it likely means that we're going to have to visit some of these things the next day. There's family scheduling and logistics. So the family calendar, coordinating things like holidays, vacations, family visits, remembering important dates, birthdays, anniversaries, RSVPing to events and buying gifts for those events. Moms also take on the mental load of anticipating needs before they arise, creating routine and structure. And a lot of times, a mom is often the default person for all of these things. So they will usually delegate tasks, monitor that they're completed. So even, when we outsource things, say you think, oh, I'm going to get some outside help on something, but still managing that help and making sure that everybody's lined up. Say you're going to give a couple kids to one of the grandparents. You're still having to communicate with all of that, pack up their clothes, the things that they need. There's a mental load that moms carry that we all know about, but sometimes when we don't put it out into a list, we might think, man, why do I feel like there's so many things, even though it doesn't necessarily look like a lot. Okay, so I just touched on several things, but there's probably a lot more. How do we manage all of this? So first, in the household department, I talk a lot about inventory management and just reducing things to an amount that you can handle without feeling like you are constantly cleaning up. I have had seasons of life where I get so frustrated because I feel like my entire day revolves around cleaning up. And I can say that hasn't been my season for quite a while, as I have ruthlessly decluttered. And honestly, I could go so much more. But I'm at least at a point where I don't have these moments where I say, all I do is clean up all day. And I remember earlier on in motherhood, I would just throw up my hands and say, I clean up for a living. That is all that I do. And it does not have to be that way. It truly does not. There's definitely going to be tidying and there's going to be things out of place. That's part of it. I find myself and my kids, we have these moments throughout the day where we put all the little random things away, but it's not an overwhelming amount of random things to where it feels like the whole job, the whole day is just cleaning up after people. There's enough other things to manage, which we just mentioned, without having to be cleaning up after everybody all day long. And of course, I have older kids now too, so I have help. But even still, I know I could have reduced inventory back in those younger years so that would not have been the case. As far as laundry, I have done a few things to majorly simplify our laundry routine in all 3 houses we've ever lived in and in the house that we are building. We have kids' rooms upstairs and we have the laundry room on the main level. And it took me a while to figure out younger kids' clothing should be kept on the first floor. We've never had a large laundry room. We do not have a large laundry room in the house that we are building. All I really need in order to keep 4 little boys, that's where I currently am. Now, when we move into our new house, the oldest of those 4 will be able to manage the clothing in his own room, but then we'll have another little baby. So usually for me, any child that's around 6 or 7 and under, I find it is better to keep their clothing minimal and in the laundry space. Maybe even if you don't have a 2-story house, but especially I can speak from a person who's had a 2-story house where the kids are always upstairs. I keep in our small laundry room either a dresser, which works in the current house that we are, a very small dresser in between the washer and dryer. Or in the last house, we had virtually no space for laundry. We put a shelf above the washer and dryer, and I put 3 large baskets on top of that. At that time, I only kept 3 kids' laundry in that space. That little thing really simplified how I manage laundry because we wash laundry every single day, at this point, multiple times a day. We always keep the washer, the dryer going, and we all know that washing and drying isn't the problem. It's putting the laundry away. So with this simplification, the older kids can all put their own laundry away. But the little kids whose laundry is there, it goes from the washer to the dryer, and then it goes into their baskets as I just pull it out of the dryer, or even the younger kids can do this because it's so simple. There's no folding. We just throw the items into the baskets for those 4 little kids. And then the goal is to never really bring any dirty laundry upstairs. So I will change the kids out of their day clothes and into their jammies before heading up for bedtime. And then we change them from their jammies into their day clothes, all in the laundry room. So then we just throw everything straight into the washer. It goes washer, dryer, basket, kid. And I'm avoiding putting away clothing for several children. Now, whatever simplifies it for you, but I can tell you that the way our laundry system works, I do not feel overwhelmed by laundry. It's not even something I think about. It's not this looming task. And so get your household to that point, whatever it takes. If it means you need 3 outfits per kid for you to feel that way, I personally believe it is worth your sanity. When it comes to meal planning, I've shared lots of videos on here about my approach on not really meal planning, but having a kitchen flow where the kitchen is well stocked, where we know those basic cooking techniques and we can throw meals together. I've shared way more in depth on this in a couple of videos that I will link below. If you search Farmhouse on Boone No Meal Planning on YouTube, you can find those videos. So I won't go super in depth here because I already did that, and it has its own dedicated video, and I kind of show a practical application for that. But it feels so much simpler when you aren't trying to pencil in every single meal that your family has, because it's such an on-the-fly thing. It changes by what is on the schedule today, by season. Some seasons you can spend a lot of time in the kitchen, some seasons you can't, and there needs to be this flow that adapts to all of that, and it can't be something that has that much resistance, that is that complicated. Again, simplifying and finding something that doesn't feel like you're always running into a wall every time you think about cooking. When it comes to activities for children, we need to prioritize ruthlessly. You can't do it all, and you shouldn't try to. So you have to ask yourself, what's essential? What can I drop, delegate, or delay to a different season? There is something called the Eisenhower Matrix. It's also known as the Urgent Important Matrix, and it's a time management tool that helps you prioritize based on the urgency and importance. So if it is urgent and important, do it. If it's not urgent but important, schedule it. If it's urgent but not important, delegate it. And if it's neither, let it go. And that could even be an overwhelming filter to run everything through. But if you're really running on empty and your brain is going in a million different directions, it might be an important exercise just to one evening jot out all the things you're thinking about and see where they fall on that urgency scale. With that, it's also really important to externalize your memory. So stop trying to carry everything in your head. There are really great apps that you can use, to-do list apps. I personally use the Notes app in my phone every single day. I have it organized in a way that I know where I'm going to be looking regularly so that I can actually rely on what I put in my notes. I'm going to see and I'm going to be able to address the task for the day and not more. And that's another thing too, is we cannot carry all future burdens at one time. Sufficient for today is its own trouble. This is something I have to remember constantly with the house build. I have a note in my phone where I've organized all the things I want to remember about the house build, things that I want to point out during certain aspects of the build. Just like one tiny example is I want the washer and the dryer on a certain side in the laundry room so that I can build a built-in in front of the washer since it doesn't have a door that opens out but up. I have like a million little tiny things like that, but I've laid them out very carefully in a note so that my brain doesn't have to carry that every single day. There are so many things like that in our lives that we want to remember, and we need some way of putting it on paper so that it isn't always just hanging out in our brains. We're carrying it, juggling it at all times, even though it's not something we're really going to have to deal with today. We are carrying it today, and that's too heavy. For me, I visit my notes app so much that I even have dates listed out and I fill them in order so that I always go to the same note. I look at what is coming up. I look at what we need to get accomplished this week and then specifically today, and I make sure that it's reasonable. So we're getting towards the big goal, but we're breaking it down into bite-sized chunks that don't make me feel like I can't just get done the regular mom stuff that I need to get done on this day. I talked about moms anticipating needs and being in charge of things like birthday parties, play dates. For us, it would be very overwhelming, for me personally, to worry about really thinking ahead on birthdays. So instead, what I do is when it's getting kind of close to that child's birthday, and maybe it's, I don't know, like I haven't even put it in my brain until it's maybe a week before, and we will make that day special. We always do. We make them something special in the morning for breakfast, maybe sourdough waffles with a bunch of whipped cream and sprinkles with a candle in it. We'll have a special lunch. We'll make whatever food they want, but it's just not something that I'm having to carry the mental load of months in advance. And that's the whole point of just encouraging you throughout this video. Find the things that you maybe are putting a little too much thought into based on your priorities. What do you feel is very important, and how much mental space and how far ahead of time is mental space required for that thing? It's going to be different for everyone, but when we feel like we're really running on empty and there's just too many things, too many balls to juggle, too many plates to spin, we have to figure out how we can simplify those everyday things that are weighing on us. And I can't go through this whole video without pointing out the phone and our dopamine addiction, our addiction to scrolling. I do think that as moms today, we are more overwhelmed, more stressed out, feel like there are just so many things that are demanding our attention. And there are a lot in our household. I just named so many that we feel responsible for, that we feel like we are carrying the mental load of. But then there are even more. We know what everybody else is doing. We know problems that they're having, successes they're having, joys, defeat, and we're carrying it, and it's a burden. And that can be a struggle to really keep us engaged and not distracted and able to carry the mental load of motherhood.